Welcome back to the Matter of Facts podcast on the Prepper Broadcasting Network. We talk prepping, guns, and politics every week on iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify. Go check out our content at mwfpodcast.com on Facebook or Instagram. You can support us via Patreon or by checking out our affiliate partners. I'm your host, Phil Rabalais. Andrew and Nick are on the other side of the mic, and here's your show. Welcome back to Matter of Facts podcast. Phil and Nick are here. I see two miscreants in the chat. So thanks to Raggle Fraggle and Dr. Scary Guy for joining us on time. Mm-hmm. I was told before we started I'm not allowed to start early anymore because someone got mad at me.
Well,
or actually, someone got mad at her spouse.
Yes.
But I'm the one that caused it.
Look, I was told that she needs the time before the show to watch shorts from other content creators. Like, I guess fine. I mean, we'll wait the 2 minutes.
You know, my wife gives me the reason that she hears me all the time and doesn't feel the need to listen to me for another hour and a half per week. Which, I mean, yeah, Raggle. That I think he means that's fair. She watches her content creators, but I think it's fair that like she doesn't feel the need to listen to me again.
Well, that happens.
Anyway, quick admin work, a listener question from Eric, and then we'll get to topics. So, there are no patrons in the chat right now, but there probably should be because they promote bad behavior.
They do.
And I appreciate them promoting bad behavior.
Encourage wildly inappropriate night vision spending.
Oh, yes. I think all of us have committed some act of financial malfeasance based on peer pressure from the patron group.
Yeah, but it's usually good financial malfeasance. It's not like blowing your money on lotto tickets and strippers. It's buying night vision goggles and nice shotguns.
And I mean, to be fair, I'm pretty sure I've given everybody the ultimate dad advice multiple times of if you have to finance it, you can't afford it yet, like leave it alone. So
true.
There is that.
Although that makes home ownership a real struggle.
The exception doesn't disprove the rule, though. It makes the rule.
Yeah, pretty much.
But if you have, a couple hundred G's sitting in a bank, don't you dare finance that shit. Just,
Well, what's the interest rate?
Currently?
Yeah.
Too damn high.
Is it? Okay. I was going to say, there is an argument to be said. I realize this is not a financial episode, but there is an argument to be made that if you have money invested or in the bank and it's earning a higher percentage return than you would pay on financing the money, don't spend your money, spend someone else's money. Because spending your money kind of kills some possible benefit. But
this is not the financial episode.
If you have that amount of money sitting aside, you probably have a financial advisor who will tell you which one is the better option.
Yes, someone you pay for financial advice, which is better than the free financial advice I'll give you.
Yes.
Anyway, code MOF at Disaster Coffee because I'm really bad at capitalism and I keep trying to give you bastards a break on your products. So don't forget the code. Get good coffee.
I have to say, it is really good coffee.
And
I quite liked Uncle Randy's Front Porch. I think I'm going to have to order another 4 or 5 bags of that.
So in the name of full disclosure, Uncle Randy's Front Porch is one of my least favorite coffees we offer.
Really?
So hear me out. It's not bad. It's really good, actually. But it is. I'm not a medium roast person. I like more like a medium dark.
Okay.
And then there's something in that Mexican single origin that it's good, tastes amazing. It just doesn't quite tickle my palate. Like
That's fair.
My go-tos are always Bear Blend, which is a medium dark, and Uprising, which is Uprising is the medium roast that is the coffee beans are aged in bourbon barrels.
Oh, I might have to try that.
It is exactly like it sounds. It's legitimately legit.
I'll have to try it. Maybe I'll get some of that along with the Randy's Front Porch.
I recommend it. And as of the last time we had to unfortunately increase prices because, everything's gone up in price, coffee not being any exception to that. Since I do a lot of the cost modeling for Disaster Coffee, I always try to maintain a certain profit margin so that we can stay solvent.
It's business.
If the cost on a specific product goes up, I have to raise prices. But if it doesn't, I don't say, oh, here's an opportunity to raise the price a little bit, spread the margin out. I say, no, let's keep the margin we have. it seems fair to the customers. None of us are buying 50 cows and Humvees with the money we make off Disaster Coffee. None of us take paychecks out of the business. So I try to keep the prices as reasonable as possible. And what happened the last time I did the cost modeling was that the cost on Uprising did not increase, but everything else did. So I was able to cost it or price it out at almost what I do the rest of the coffee in the store. And Uprising used to be, I think, $1 to $1.50 a bag more expensive, but because the cost has arisen on and everything else has, now it costs what everything else does.
Nice. That's pretty sweet.
Which makes it an even better deal because, I mean, the Uprising is a really, really good coffee. Dr. Scary Guy, you have a patron member in the chat. Are you... Oh, God, I'm drawing a blank. We did just get a new patron super recently, within the last week or two.
Are they in the Signal chat?
They are not. I'm waiting for them to download the app, and then I can try to find them. But if
Get y'all in the Signal chat. I will make Eddie harass you. And by make, I mean I will vaguely encourage him in your direction.
Okay, Dr. Scary Guy, first month or two. I'm going to have to reach out to me offline because I'm trying to connect faces with names.
Yes. Or at the very least, get you in the Signal chat because that shit is fun.
Yes. You'll probably mute it after a couple of days because there are days when the Signal chat is dead silent. And then there are days when you get off of work and there's 145 messages waiting for you.
I once woke up slightly later than usual on a Saturday morning, and there were 95 messages that occurred from the time I went to bed to 5:15 in the morning.
Yes. I
did not read them.
That must have been a particularly energetic morning.
I scanned for any tags, and I just blew through them all.
Yeah, it's got to be that way sometimes. But it's a good group to hang out with.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun.
One last tag. Merch at the Southern Gals. The link's in the show description. We have shirts, we have koozies, we have other things. And if I can smooth talk Nick into... God, what was the thing I told you the other day? Like, you should contact the Brandons and have them make it into a shirt. Was it the Imperium scroll?
I think it was. I think it was a purity seal that was imploring a coffee machine to make a stronger brew, which I think would be fantastic on a shirt. That is phenomenal.
I mean, it appeals to both nerds, of which there are many of us, and coffee dorks, of which there are many of us.
Raggle's asking in the chat, is there any way to directly support us cash flow wise that is not Patreon? Because he doesn't like Patreon. I don't think we have anything else set up.
So I don't. And
Phil could set up a beard related OnlyFans.
I doubt Mrs. Rabalais is going to accept that as a viable option.
Well, she does get a vote. Actually, a veto. Yeah. I think it'd be more of a veto.
Hard veto. Raggle, I'll do some head scratching on it. But I mean, quite frankly, there's always okay. So bear in mind, if you don't like Patreon, and I don't blame you,
that's fair enough.
There's always the merch, and there's also down in the show description there is an affiliate link for Amazon.
Oh, yeah, you could use the affiliate link. I forget we have that.
Which is something I probably don't promote near often enough, but I've got a few people that
I don't think I've heard you promote that since I've been on the show.
Yeah. So
damn it, Phil. I will harass you to fix this.
Do capitalism better again?
Yes, we will have to do capitalism better-ish.
I try. I mean, truthfully, like, we're really blessed with the patrons supporting the show so that, like, I don't have to chase ad revenue. I don't have to chase sponsors. I can just show up and goof off with my friends and have fun and do a show.
Yep.
And that sometimes I don't want to say it makes me lazy, but like it frees me up from the really annoying part of podcasting where you have to keep the thing solvent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It does.
And like I've consistently said for the 8, 9, I started the show in 2013. Help me math.
12?
No, it wasn't 2013. Damn it, Jim.
I don't remember when you started. 2014? About 10, call it 10 years.
I don't think it's been 10 years, but it's been quite a long time. I mean, we're 400 and something episodes in.
Neat.
So, at roughly one a week. So do the math, 8-9 years worth of shows. And
something like that.
We're at a point where, like, I have not had to go chasing after people for money to keep the show running. The patrons support it. And as long as they do,
if a quality company wanted to advertise and have us do a review on their gear, we would. It will be a extremely honest review of your gear. If I find a problem with it, I'm going to tell everyone. And when I do break Rebel shit, which I'm going to attempt, I will tell you guys how I broke it and why I broke it in a stupid way.
But he told you it was lifetime warranted.
He did. And, looking at it, I got 10 years out of my last nylon plate carrier. This one's built sturdier and thicker nylon, so I don't have high hopes of destroying it anytime soon.
Yeah. Actually, I've turned down 2 potential sponsors in the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Neither of which I'll name.
There's no reason to do that.
Out of courtesy, but let's just say that, like, one very obviously had no earthly idea what our brand was about. And the other one actually kind of did, but I didn't like their products. I don't like their marketing. I think it's a bit deceptive. Like, remind me later and I'll tell you, and it'll make total complete sense who I'm talking about and why I just waved them off.
Okay. I might remember who this was.
Yeah. Like I said, I gave it some serious thought, but the more I looked into their products, I was just like, Phil, if there was no money involved, would you put your name on this? And the answer was no. And at that moment, the answer was just no.
Yeah, that's fair.
But that being said,
listener question, eh?
Listener question. Dr. Scary Guy, I see your comment. I'm not dignifying with a response, and you can interpret that as you will. Listener question. So Eric reached out to us through Instagram and threw this really interesting question in my lap yesterday, which I thought you and I could have a good spirited debate over.
Sure.
And I can't fit it into one of these little banners at the bottom of the screen, so, like, bear with me here. He asked, so what's your opinion on the idea that we should discard Jefferson's enhancement of Blackstone's formula and going back to the original 10-to-1 risk ratio? We've seen how striving for a 100-to-1 ideal leads to too many murderers and dirty politicians walking free, making the rest of us question the value of the legal system as a whole. So Blackstone's formula, as best I recall, and feel free to correct me, was basically like, you want the burden of proof in your legal system to be such that, like, you would let 10 guilty people go for every one you would falsely imprison, like that. And I don't think that's like a hard ratio, but it was more of a principle to follow.
Well, it's a principle based on biblical allegory. The tale of Sodom and Gomorrah. If you find one good man in the city, God won't destroy it. And he couldn't find a good man. You're right. It is better that 10 guilty men go free than one innocent man be imprisoned or be wrongfully convicted. And I get the sentiment behind that.
Yeah.
I also get the sentiment behind it's better that 100 guilty men go free than one innocent person be in prison. I get that. The problem with, and my problem with going away from that model is that I do not trust the government to do it correctly in either way. I don't. Kamala Harris is a perfect example of it. She kept exculpatory evidence from defense attorneys that would have freed their clients to keep them in prison to work as slave labor for the state.
I mean,
that was our vice president.
How long's it been since I brought up Ruby Ridge? I promised myself I wouldn't do it more than every 6 months.
It has been a while.
Okay, so if I say the name Lon Horiuchi, does that ring a bell?
Yeah.
The same legal system that we're discussing, not trusting to, like, take a person to task that very obviously broke the law in front of witnesses, is the same one that investigated the government and determined that the government did no wrong when this man shot an unarmed woman holding a child.
and then later took pictures smiling in front of smoking corpses.
Yes, that too. I do think I'm violating some kind of terms to mention Ruby Ridge and Waco in the same episode, but
no. New year, new chalkboard.
New Year, Phil.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks,
Rebels got me. Yeah. Hey, look, the government will always investigate itself and find that it did nothing wrong. Unless the section of the government that's being investigated isn't the current political party in power, which is what we're seeing going on with the Somali fraud case. That would never be investigated were a Democrat in office, because it's happening in a lot of Democrat jurisdictions.
Yes. That we know of. Probably a lot more that we don't.
Oh, I'm sure it's happening in a lot of conservative districts too, but those are probably going to be the last ones to be investigated.
Yeah, and I guess so. Here's me being Solomon and cutting the baby in half.
Mm-hmm.
My issue is not whether the standard is 10-1 or 100-1. My issue is that, kind of going back to what you said to start with, like, I don't know at this stage of my adulthood that I am no longer jaded, that I'm now far too jaded to believe that the government will in good faith attempt to discharge the law according to either of those standards.
Yeah.
So, to take the most weaselly, answer the question with a question back to Eric, I guess my first thought is like, I don't know that it matters anymore. I understand his point of view. Like, if we decrease the burden of proof, we would have fewer guilty people walk free. Justice, by that metric, would be served more consistently. But
you'd also have more innocent people in prison.
Well, that's one problem. But the other problem is that I still don't believe that the government will hold itself accountable. So,
especially not politicians.
Yeah. So, I mean, to Eric's point, yeah, we want to see the murderers and the rapists and everybody else in prison, but we also want to see the dirty politicians and the dirty cops in prison. And I have no faith that they will, even if we revise Blackstone down to 1-1, it doesn't matter. The state will hold you and I accountable for minor infractions and will exempt themselves from everything. So I don't believe that changing the standard matters much.
We pretty much have undeniable proof that at the very least, not the majority, a plurality of our politicians are implicated in child sexual abuse.
I'll go with that.
At a high enough level that it's a national security threat that we release that information. So,
per this administration.
And per the last.
Yes.
The last said the same damn thing.
Which is alarming.
Which tells you it's every one of them, or at least enough of them are implicated, or should be, I would say, shunned for their ignoring of these crimes.
Yes. So was that the best non-answer we could come up with? It doesn't matter.
I think that I think that is the answer, though. The answer is, it does not matter what the formulation is, so long as the system is rigged in favor of the politically connected and wealthy, which it is. It heavily is, and it has been for a very long time.
Yeah. So, slight sidebar before we get to the real topic.
Mm-hmm.
So, y'all know that in the patron chat, like, I have joked many times over the years about the fact that, like, I am unintentionally raising an angry little libertarian, right? Like, anybody that has children, even if you yourself are not a parent, you have children in your life some kind of way, nieces, nephews, cousins, something. And everyone's had that experience where you talk and you are 200% convinced they are not listening to what you're saying, right?
Oh, they heard it all.
But then they come back with something later on. You're like, oh, damn, you were filing everything I was saying away for later.
Mm-hmm.
So my daughter and I got into a discussion about the justice system recently. And she kind of like floated the idea out there because she can see, she's got eyes, she's a smart kid. She can see that there's obviously some malfeasance and some weighing of the scale one way or the other. And she asked me if I thought it was racially based. And I said, it's actually not racially based. It's class based.
Oh, it's 100% class based. It
And
just so happens that certain racial demographics do less well in this system.
Yeah. But I basically explained to her, I'm like, if you take whatever statistic you're looking at and you stratify by income level, you'll see some very strong trends.
Yeah. The racial bias almost entirely disappears.
Yeah. Or you take those outliers that kind of like so within statistics, if you have a trend line that is like all the dots are a perfect line, that's a really clear model. And if it's kind of like a cloud, but the meat of the cloud goes in a certain direction, like that's not as clear of a model. Like you can kind of see this visually if you visualize an XY plot and a scatter graph, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Well, what I explained to her was, I'm like, if you stratify what you're looking at by race, you get outliers on both sides. It kind of make it look like a cloud that the middle part of it does this, but there's a cloud. But if you stratify by income level, it's damn near a perfect line. All the outliers disappear.
They do. Yeah. Unfortunately, the worse you are doing, the less likely you are to get justice. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, and the really
the system's been slanted against you.
And see here, and here's one of the conversations I've had with other people before. It's like it's one of those, like, my mind goes to like, okay, how can we level the playing field out? And at the end of the day, I just don't know there's a way. I mean, you could take the point of view of like, there are no more private lawyers. Everything's public defenders. Everybody gets the same pool to pick from.
Yeah.
And let the cards fall where they
might. You're not going
may.
to get the best public defender.
Yeah. But at least then you're removing the really wealthy person's ability to hire the top flight team of lawyers to OJ Simpson you out of the courtroom. But then you're totally,
but instead they're going to give a gift to their buddy that assigns the defense team and the prosecutor, and they're going to put the bad prosecutor on your case and the good defense on your case.
Yeah.
Look, there's going to be a way to scam the system no matter what you do. But what is required to fix it is the people that have power currently being willing to have the system fixed.
You do understand that historically, no one with power has ever willingly given it up, with very few exceptions.
Yeah, no, I fully understand that, which is why I don't think it will be fixed in our lifetime. Without
see it,
because the only thing I see potential for is a violent balkanization of the United States.
I mean,
I think that's far more likely than things settling down and getting better.
Sooner or later, yeah. But like I said, that was the little sidebar. That was one of those moments in time where my daughter dropped something in my lap, and I'm like, "Oh, you adorable little porcupine, you."
Yeah, the interesting thing about it is if you take crime statistics and you break them down by what the victims say occurred. So, like, say the demographic of the person that assaulted them or did whatever crime, and then you take conviction rates and you break that down by racial groups, it's 1-to-1. The people that are claimed to have done the crime are later found to have done the crime and the descriptions fit most of the time. Yes, sometimes witnesses' testimony is bad. Great. We have security footage, and the security footage confirms a lot of things like that. But it's largely income based, and it's not because being poor causes people to commit crimes. It is that people that are in chronic situations of poverty are not raised in a way that discourages them from committing crimes and encourages other behavior.
Yeah.
It's like when I was growing up, there was rampant discouragement to do anything to jeopardize the good fortune that me and my family had.
Mm-hmm.
And there was nothing but encouragement to further that. Where you see the opposite in a lot of impoverished communities. You see them dragging each other down constantly, time and time again. The smart kid in the ghetto gets beaten on and picked on constantly.
You know, you and I were talking to a friend of ours in the patron group who shall remain nameless unless he wants to out himself not too long ago about the fact that, like, you know, he grew up in a very challenging home situation. Let's call it that.
Yeah.
And he's very upfront about the fact that, like, he had to cut ties with basically everybody he knew back then, family and friends included, because they all kind of wanted to drag him right back down to where they were. And he got out and did better and did well for himself and has a beautiful family and a successful career, and he works hard, and he's handling business. But the people who were with him when he was in the gutter don't want him to do better. Nope. They want him to be just like them. So he's had to make a very hard decision, I'm sure, and say, y'all are not helping me be better. So
crabs in a bucket, man.
Yep. Comments. God, the comments might have the ultimate solution. Just wood chipper. Some people just need to get fed into Mr. Chippy face first.
I have said for a very long time, and I will continue to say it, there are people that do not create any net good for society that exist.
Yes. My only question is, do we put them in face first so they have to see it coming, or feet first so the head's the last thing to go? Y'all can debate that. Jeff Jag.
Style points if they jump and do a twist.
Excellent. Blackstone's formula assumes a fair judicial system.
It does.
So did our founding fathers, to be fair.
Yeah, they did. Well, and our founding fathers also assumed a Christian nation.
And also assumed
a founding moral structure that was going to stay the same, which didn't.
And also assumed that we would tar and feather public officials that did stupid stuff.
They encouraged rebellion on multiple occasions.
Yeah. Raggle Fraggle, Lucius Quintus Cincinnatus, and George Washington, talking about very few people have ever given up power.
It's funny that the list is so short, it's memorizable.
Now, here's the noggin scratcher before we get to the topic. Do you believe that the reason the list is so short is because people just, as a function of their being, do not want to give up power when they have it? Or is that indicative of the type of person that goes to public service? Like, the people who want to get into public service and have that power don't want to give it up. And then people like me who are like, I'm quite happy, like, living here, having a job, having hobbies and friends, and like raising my family. I'm not concerned about being in the seat of power and lording over other people. A person like me who would give up power doesn't want anything to do with it. I don't want the power.
I think the first difference we have to point out, Phil, is that going into public service is not going into power. There's a lot of public service jobs.
Wait. It's not supposed to be going into public power.
No, it's not.
You got to use the word supposed to be.
Right, but there is a big difference between the ideological 18-year-old or 17-year-old that signs up to the military to protect their country, to do good for their people. There's a very big difference between the high school kid that grows up, goes off, gets a law degree, and becomes a public defender. No, I'm just saying any law degree and becomes a public defender because he wants to make sure that, you know, the public does get a good legal defense. There's a big difference between that and fucking JB Pritzker or all these other fat cat bullshit politicians that do nothing but enrich themselves at the cost of everyone else. There's a big difference. The kind of people that I think really go after power, there is an amount of narcissism required to seek public elected office. I think there's a bare minimum narcissism level there.
Yeah, even the politicians you in the comments or you listening might have voted for are still
absolutely narcissists. You're going to tell me Trump isn't a narcissist? I voted for him 3 times.
These are raging narcissists.
He's one of the biggest ones I have ever met. I've ever listened to. But yeah, my God, so's Biden. Yeah. So's your local city council member. Probably a narcissist. Definitely a Karen if they're on the city council. Whether it's a dude or a chick. You know exactly the person I'm talking about, too.
Yeah.
If you know your city councilman. If you don't, you should. If you don't, shame on you. They have a lot of effect on your life.
Raggle. I love Senator Kennedy too, but trust me, if the man is in politics, he's got a little tinge of narcissism at a minimum.
They have to. They have to.
It,
Otherwise,
it
you would. There's a putting yourself out there and claiming what you have to claim in order to get elected. There's definitely some narcissism there. I mean, one of the commenters brought up Bernie Sanders. Yeah. I think he started off as a true believer. I do. I think he started off as a true believer communist.
Yeah,
and
but
then he got that book deal.
But
and then
even
that book sold really well.
But even a true believer communist is in themselves a narcissist because they believe that they are better qualified to lord over the lives of the many because they are anointed and they are smarter than everyone else.
Right.
Anyone who has ever rose into a seat of power in any communist or socialist society is an eye-bleeding narcissist because they believe that they know all however many 100 million people live in that country better than that person knows themselves. And that's what's required to make decisions on the broad scale for that many people. Like, my ultimate argument against statism is always Donald J. Trump doesn't know who the hell I am. He has no idea who I am. He knows nothing about me. He doesn't know my likes, my dislikes. He doesn't know my priorities. He doesn't know my internal philosophy. He does not know who I am. Therefore, the decisions he should be allowed that have a direct input into my life should be extraordinarily limited because I myself know me better than anybody else does. And I should be able to make my own decisions.
You should.
But Lord knows that the whole...
I mean, heck, there's a level of narcissism that you have to be on a podcast.
Yeah, except I'm still shocked that anybody actually wants to listen to me for any amount of time. So there's that.
Yeah, you're entertaining.
I mean, that's the nicest thing I've ever been called. Thanks, Nick.
You're welcome.
All right. The name of the episode, a half an hour in, is Make Time for Maintenance.
Yes.
Or else. What happens if you don't make time for maintenance, Nick?
It makes time for itself.
It makes time for itself. So we've talked before about like home maintenance and auto maintenance, cars. I thought, though, since I don't know how we got on the subject last episode, but we got on the subject of like firearms maintenance. I know what it was. It's when I was having a screaming rant about Cosmoline.
Yeah, you're right. It was about the Cosmoline.
That's what brought it out. I was screaming bloody murder about Cosmoline and the fact that it is like firearm cancer. Rust is not as annoying as Cosmoline. Yeah. It's easier to get rid of rust than Cosmoline.
Yes. It's very hard to chemically remove Cosmoline. You can chemically remove rust very easily.
I mean, you could always take the whole thing and just soak it in a tub of gasoline.
You can. My wife is very anti tubs of open gasoline in the basement, though.
I didn't say in the basement. I'm not a sadist.
Well, it's cold outside. I'm not doing it outside.
Why not? The freaking rifle ain't going to get cold.
Yeah, but I will.
Then throw it out there and then come back in by the fire and make sure that you don't have any gasoline on you when you get
Don't cross-contaminate fire. Got it. Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, make time for maintenance or else. So I thought we'd have a discussion about like our thoughts on firearms maintenance, cleaning, and care. And then we'll progress into field gear and other things if time and energy allows.
Absolutely.
So, starting with cleaning and care.
So, Phil, pre-range or post-range cleaning?
Always post. Always post.
I do both. Not necessarily cleaning, but inspection.
Yeah, that's fair.
If I'm making a dedicated range trip, not talking bump in the night, pulled the gun out, I'm not going to pull the bolt and check it. But before I go to the range, before I go to a training class, I will do as much of a disassembly as I can on the weapon, like basic field strip, if not total disassembly, depending on what it is and how recently it's been used. And I'll just go through and inspect all the parts before I go. And then I do the same thing when I get back, plus cleaning, because then I have refreshed my memory of, number one, how it comes apart and goes together. I have relubricated everything, which is always a good decision. I have inspected the existing wear on components, and I have checked all of the tension on the screws, checked the batteries, checked the springs. And then when I come back, I have it in my head, a fresh image of what it did look like. So I know what is now different, if I see any differences.
No, that's fair. I don't do pre-range. I don't strip a firearm pre-range. Pre-range, about the most I will do is like, so bearing in mind that like my pre-range checks is also the same checks I go through when I pull the firearm out for dry fire training, or occasionally if I just have a half a day with nothing to do and nobody home and I just want to kill time, I'll just start pulling guns out of the safe and like get them on the bench, make sure there's no rust, make sure there's no crap, just like give them a good once over if I haven't touched them in a while.
Yeah. Check for rust, check for degradation, check for critter damage. I've had slings chewed on by mice on occasion.
I'm fortunate I haven't had to deal with that, but
that's why I went to a safe from a gun locker.
But what I'm thinking is like when I pull the firearm out and I'm about to take it to the range, I don't strip it. I do as soon as I pull the firearm out, I immediately confirm condition of it because like I store all firearms in condition 3, which for those unanointed, that's like full mag, safety off, empty chamber. So all you got to do, it's like cruiser ready for a shotgun. It's literally pull it up out the rack, run the action one time, and you're hot, you're ready to go. Every firearm stays stored like that in the house. And the idea is that the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to unload the firearm, confirm it's unloaded. And then if I'm going to take it to the range, I will usually go so far as to like, eyeball through the barrel to make sure that I don't have anything weird going on in there. And I shouldn't. I'll put a spritz of gun oil into the action.
Yeah.
Maybe
cycle it a couple times.
Yeah. Cycle it a few times, make sure that the safeties work, make sure that it's dropping the hammer reliably, make sure the disconnector is working. Like I give it a quick pre-flight check, make sure everything's behaving it like it should. And then I stick it in the bag and I go. When I get back, I strip it, take it all apart, clean it out really good, put it all back together, check all the fasteners, check batteries. I do all that so that and then I reload it in condition 3 and put it back in the safe so that when the gun goes back into the safe, I have verified that it is ready to come out of the safe and go weapons hot to, take care of business at any moment. So I don't feel, I guess like from that perspective, like I don't feel the need to do a full disassembly and everything on the firearm when I take it out to go to the range because I've done all that on the way back into the rack and it comes out of the rack ready to go.
That makes sense.
And the only time I've ever had an issue with a firearm that I could have saved myself by doing a pre-flight check, it was because I got a little bit lax. I had an issue years ago where my one of my stream lights, the tape switch stopped working reliably, and I thought I had like a pinch wire or something. Well, it turned out that the tail cap had actually backed off like a quarter turn.
Sure.
And it's totally my fault. I got lazy and lax. I hadn't been checking it, and like I got lazy. I stopped paying attention. I didn't think it was backing off. And once I realized that, now part of my, before it goes back into the safe checks for every single firearm is to just gently, just like give every one of those tail caps a little nudge every single time.
Sense.
Even the Streamlight I carry in my back pocket, like I make it a point every so often of like, just taking the tail cap and back it off an eighth turn and torque it back on, just make sure it's tight.
No, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I've never had a time where I've gotten to the range and my weapon has not functioned appropriately. I've never had that happen. I think the reason why I do the checks I do before I go comes down to kind of what I do for a job. Tool and Die is all about being extremely detail oriented and being extremely thorough with your stuff because we don't get spare parts most of the time. So your first shot's usually your only shot. So I go through and do those very similar pre-flight checks with all of my metrology tools at work, with the setup in my mill every day at work, with the setup in my wire EDM and the grinder, whatever I'm doing. I think it's just how I look at things now.
Yeah.
Regal had a good question.
I was going to hit Jeff's first, but we'll go with that one. Just because that's probably the quicker one to answer.
Yeah.
Force maintenance is several times more expensive and time consuming than optional maintenance.
Yes.
210%. Now back to Raggle.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe a certain level of carbon fouling makes the rifle more accurate? I've heard prairie dog hunters that'll clean rifles every 200 to 500 rounds and shoot 5 shots after. So
that's not carbon fouling. That's copper fouling in the rifle lands and grooves.
Yes. But
that's the difference.
That being said, I am not the world's greatest shot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a mature enough man to admit that.
Sure.
In my day, I used to be in pretty regular contact with a nationally ranked F-class shooter years and years and years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Lost touch with him over the years. Probably should try to look him up again. He was a cool guy. Another Army vet. But, you know, F-class, for those of you who aren't aware, is like you take a 308 Winchester, you shoot it out to 1,000 yards at like, I think, 12-inch circles. It's a crazy freaking thing to compete in. But
mm-hmm.
his supposition was always that the barrel will tell you what it wants.
It will.
And even within the same manufacturer of barrels, you could buy 2 barrels, one right off the line behind the other. One of them is going to shoot its absolute best right out of the box, bare clean. And after you shoot a match, thou shalt strip all the copper fouling back out of it, or it will shoot like crap.
Yep.
And they will even clean it mid-match if that group starts opening up. Mm-hmm. The barrel will tell you what it wants. I, on the other hand, have a Ruger M77 that is a perfectly acceptable rifle. It does not shoot worth a shit when it's completely clean.
I have that same problem with my Remington 700 30-06.
Yeah, I can clean
2 box minimum before the grouping closes up.
So mine's not that bad. I mean, now for the sake of comparison, like I've gotten that rifle to where it had 4 rounds touching each other at 100
mm-hmm.
yards. So it can spit out a really, really accurate group.
We like to play darts with ours at 300 yards at the range I used to go to a lot.
But it will not repeat that performance with a totally clean barrel. I'm gonna put about 5 or 6 rounds through it, and you can watch. Your first 5 rounds are like, you know, about 2.5 MOA, and your next 5 are like this again.
Mm-hmm.
I am not smart enough to understand why that is, but I do know that the barrel made it very apparent to me you don't like to be shot when you're freshly cleaned.
It has to do with the tolerance on the rifling lands and grooves in comparison to the roughed out hole that was in the rifle barrel before it had the rifling cut, and how sharp the rifling button, or however they rifled it, how well it cut those lands and grooves. I can tell you that.
But that is still a function of like the barrel, and I guess to a lesser degree the rest of the firearm. It will, if your accuracy is your ultimate goal and you pay a little bit of attention, it will tell you what it wants.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want peak accuracy, you're gonna give the weapon what it's after.
So I have noticed with my Remington 700, it shoots the best after about 20 to 30 rounds. From there to about 600 rounds. At 600, that group starts opening up like crazy again.
Mm-hmm.
Now, 600 rounds is a lot of 30-06.
It's a lot for a bolt gun.
Well, it is a lot for a bolt gun. But, you know, when I was going up twice a month to a range with a 300-yard range, and I was playing, you know, I would shoot 100 rounds, you go through that in a reasonable time period. But it's... like Phil said, your barrel will tell you what it wants, what it needs. If you notice your load that performed perfectly well this range time now is not, try cleaning your barrel, refoul it, and see what happens.
Yeah. Now, other than that,
I will say there is something to be said, and Phil, get your opinion on this. Running your gun till it's dirty enough to fail. I see a benefit in that.
I won't debate that, but I won't do it.
I do it usually if I buy a new semi-auto because I want to know, for my own sake, I'm going to take it out of the box. I'm going to clean the bejesus out of it. Get it real clean, get it oiled up to my preference with my preferred lubricants.
That's
and
next
then I'm
on
going
the
to
list.
Yeah,
For
and then
gear.
Nice. I'm going to shoot the absolute shit out of that thing until it starts to give me problems.
To know where the line is.
To know where the line is. So for whatever reason, say I've got a class where it's going to be a 500 round class and we've got a break for lunch. Do I need to clean it at 250 rounds at lunch break? Do I need to field strip it and check some things out? What do I need to do to it when, if I'm in a situation with extended amounts of fire?
And I guess from my perspective, like, I have a hard rule that I tear down and inspect a firearm every single time it goes to the range. And like, I will tear it down. I will wipe it down. I'll usually take a little bit of my preferred freaking gun oil cleaning agent and like, spritz the parts down, put it back together. I don't detail strip guns super often. I don't clean the barrels super often. I kind of pay attention to what the weapon's doing and let that be my signpost. But like,
do you track round count in your weapons?
Not super closely. Not super closely. Like, just being perfectly honest, like I track round count on like, I track round count only on my bolt gun, and even that's still fairly loose. Like, I basically track because I know how many rounds I put through it out of the 2 boxes I have loaded up that are like all hand loaded. But like, the truth of the matter is that my personal preference is tear the weapon down and let it tell me what it needs. If it looks really filthy in there, I'll go through with brass brushes and, clean every last little bit of carbon out, scrape it off, do what I got to do. But for the most part, like, I don't subscribe to the basic training, clean it, make it shine before you turn it in, school of thought. I've seen too many firearms screwed up by overly enthusiastic cleaning.
You can do that, yeah.
When in my experience, the goal is get the dirt out, get the worst of the carbon out, lube it up, put it back together. And if the gun's still running well, I don't see a need to go get crazy about it. Now, I will say that while I am slightly lackadaisical about a level of cleaning I'm willing to go through, I am not lackadaisical about inspecting it. Because if there's wear patterns, if there's metal moving, if there's things peening, I want to know about it immediately, because that is a parts breakage at some point down the road.
Absolutely.
Now, so that's like that to me, like, cleaning and care really comes down to, like, instead of like hard, fast rules about do this to make the weapon, clean enough you can put it away. I'm very much like that when it comes to what condition I put the firearm away, only because when it comes out, I store every firearm as if the next time it comes out of the safe, it's going to be to protect my wife and daughter.
Sure.
So they all go away in the same condition, so that they all come out in the same condition. I don't have to start thinking about, how did I store this one? How did I put this one away? They all baseline the same way.
Right.
With a couple exceptions. Obviously, my carry gun's condition 1.
As it should be.
Yeah, I mean, hammer down on the half-cock notch because it's a double action, single action, but like, the carry gun's condition 1, revolvers are obviously condition 1 because if you got a full cylinder, it's all the way loaded.
There's no sense in having an empty cylinder.
Yeah. But
not on a modern revolver.
Yeah. But everything in the house that's a semi-auto, the bolt action, they're all condition 3. They got full magazines and empty chambers. There's a comment. I want to see my reflection on my gun, or else I'm carrying it. I mean, that's fair. Yeah, not my thing. I don't own pretty guns. If you
are cleaning it appropriately, that's not a problem.
Yeah. I will say I did spend an afternoon in the garage smoking a cigar and hand polishing up my my Ruger GP100. It's not like polished to a high shine and everything, like chrome or like nickel plated, but you've seen you've seen like a stainless GP100, right? Like, yeah, they're not really.
One of my coworkers daily carries one. It's a choice.
I polished it up enough that like you could legitimately shave in parts of it. Like, it's nice. Prettier than it has any right to be, which also makes it hell on earth to clean after I've taken it home from the range.
It would be, yeah.
But it sure is pretty. Go-to cleaning kit. So let's start with the age-old debate. How do you feel about bore snakes?
I love them.
Why do you think some people are so like about bore snakes?
Because they are not using them for their intended purpose when they tried them. That is what I think.
Explain.
I think the appropriate use case for bore snakes is, all right, in the class, getting a little bit of fouling, quick rip it through the bore a couple of times, field cleaning kits, sort of things.
Yeah.
I think that
Quick
there
and dirty.
are a lot of people that make too much to do about the steel cable at the core of bore snakes scouring your barrel. Your barrel is taking far more wear. I shouldn't say that. Your barrel should be taking far more wear and tear from the bullets being fired down it than a steel cable brushing against it occasionally.
Yeah. The one thing I've always heard is that, like, well, what if it leaves a chunk of the bore snake in the barrel and the next time you fire around, it bulges your barrel? Like, I've yet to see a confirmed case where any of these horror stories of bore snakes actually took place.
I have had a bore snake break off halfway through my barrel and been a real bitch to get it out.
Yes, but that wasn't like, oh, it deposited it's not like it was a Romulan ship and it cloaked itself in your barrel and you couldn't see it. It was pretty obvious.
Oh God,
something
no! It
bad
was
happened.
really obvious that bore snake was going out. It was going to be the last range trip with that bore snake when it finally broke. But I have had the brass bristles in the cleaning brushes be left behind in the bore of my rifle, and that's going to do a hell of a lot more than a small piece of nylon cordage.
Yeah.
Now,
So,
granted, you visually inspect your barrel after you clean it, or you should.
Should.
And hey, you see something in there. Air gun out of your compressor, blast through it. Is it gone? Yes. Is there damage? No. Good to go. You're fine.
Jeff Jag, because you can't use a bore snake to force a squib out, is the one I was told. I mean, that's fair,
reasonable.
but I don't. That's not a knock against the bore snake. That's just that's like trying to ice skate uphill. It's the wrong tool for the wrong job.
It is, and you know, I have had squib rounds in my pistols that have been no issue to get out. I've had squib rounds in a rifle that took buying a solid brass rod and beating the bejesus out of it to get out. Look,
Yeah.
there are some tools that will not do all jobs.
More Raggle, hold that thought for just a minute. I have a personal favorite cleaner that should sponsor me, and they don't.
If your answer is not Hoppy's number 9, you have a terrible sense of smell.
It's not Hoppy's number 9. But anyway,
I'm disappointed in you.
That's okay. I've been a disappointment before. Guy that comments said squibs kind of spooky. So we were talking about this in the Patreon group just today. Squibs are not. What's the beeping noise? I know it's not a fire.
My dehumidifier filter needs to be cleaned.
Oh,
it happens once a month. It happened to occur in the middle of the show this time. I didn't know if that was going to do it.
So yeah, squibs are not the worst thing. It's hang fires that are the scariest damn failure on earth.
Yes.
And anyone that has never experienced that, like, so anybody that's ever played with, like, you know, an old black powder gun knows that, like, there's enough time between hammer dropping and boom for you to, like, be conscious of it, right?
Oh yeah, especially a flintlock.
But that's not a thing usually with smokeless powder.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
it is.
I had a hang fire that hung so long, I had time to start to say the words, what the hell? I got about to the word the, and then it popped. And to this day, is the single scariest experience I've ever had shooting firearms.
Yeah, it's not something that happens often with modern ammunition. Thankfully.
It is when you first start reloading and you do dumb things.
Oh, well, yeah. Wait. What'd you do?
So at the time, I had a hard line about, like, after I would wet tumble brass, I would let it, I had a process for making sure it was totally dry inside and out, and I would always let it sit out for 24 hours before I'd reload it. Let all the moisture evaporate out of it, right? Well, this one time I got in a hurry and said, I mean, it's been 4 or 5 hours. I'm sure it's
not long enough.
No, it wasn't fine. But you know what happened?
I've had some brass stay wet for like 72 hours.
Well, in the summer in Louisiana, when it's like 90 degrees in your garage,
That would dry it quick.
Yes. Unfortunately, 4 hours was definitely not enough time. And I loaded that stuff up and I learned that wet, clumpy powder does really weird things.
Yeah, it burns super weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, not only did I have a hang fire, but something weird happened with that gun. And I actually had powder splatter back, like pepper my face around my iPro.
Huh.
Best I can figure is like,
Some of the powder didn't burn.
Well, we're talking about a revolver, so you got a cylinder gap. The only thing I can figure is I had some kind of way something splattered back into my face because I felt like peppering all over my face when that round went off. Anyway, weird experience. I don't recommend it.
Yeah, don't get your gunpowder wet.
Yeah, keep your powder dry. Yada yada yada. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Raggle asked about foaming bore cleaner, so I'm gonna say I am a Ballistol faithful.
I like Hoppy's 9.
I mean, not hating on you. Not even disappointed.
It is what is for sale at the local farm and hardware store from the time I can remember until today. I can get it whenever I walk in. It's been my go-to, and it's never done me wrong.
I have 5 cans of aerosol Ballistol under my gun cleaning shelf. I buy that stuff at least a couple of cans a year, and I stay stocked at all times. It is like the makers of Ballistol. If you would like to support the podcast, I will happily accept a sponsorship from you bunch of bastards.
I will attempt cleaning guns with it.
I have spent a ton of money on y'all's products over the year. You should at least throw me like, cleaning mat or something for my trouble. But
there you go.
I like it because it's a cleaner, it's a lubricant, it's a leather and a wood conditioner. Like you can literally take a gun made any time in the last 200 years and just hose the thing down from one end to the other. It will hurt literally nothing. And not the aerosol. You can also buy Ballistol in these 16-ounce like cans of unpressurized. I'm told that if you take that and you water it down, I forget exactly the ratio, but it's what Ballistol recommends for cleaning black powder fouling.
Interesting.
So
I don't do much black powder at all. My brother does that.
I don't do any. I don't do any, but that's what they recommend. Like if you have like, a bunch of powder fouling and everything in your roll.
Carbon fouling.
Yeah. That's what they recommend for for neutralizing black powder. Because you know that if you leave black powder. It is
acidic, yeah.
Yeah, so it's good for neutralizing that.
Huh. Well, that's good to know.
I'm told.
Keep that in mind if I ever when I finish the AR 1870, 1850, whatever we called it.
Whatever it is.
It has a project name. I need to get some different 3D printer filament.
I think we talked about that last time, too.
We did. I will eventually finish that.
But yeah, Ballistol is my go-to. I have my preference. I'm not really hung up on what kind of cleaner you use. I'm not even really hung up on what kind of cleaning kit. I will say that, like, I believe when it comes to cleaning kit for firearms that you have a variety of options. Mm-hmm. Like, I have nylon brushes. I have brass brushes. The brass brushes are a little aggressive, but sometimes you got to get a little aggressive.
You do.
I have Ballistol. I have the silicone impregnated, towels. I've got a whole stack of just old t-shirts I use for all kinds of stuff. I've got bore snakes and I've got cleaning rods. I've got all this stuff. And 9 times out of 10, I go and look at the firearm, tear it apart and say, what do I need to make this clean enough?
I have a basic cleaning kit that lives in my range bag. Yeah. It is a couple of bore snakes in my 3 most common calibers. It is a number of brushes, just a couple of nylon brushes, because usually at the range, you don't need something as abrasive as a brass brush. You could give it a light scrub. I got a little dropper sealed bottle of Hoppy's 9. I got a little dropper bottle of whatever oil has been in that thing for the last 10 years, because I do most of my gun cleaning at home. And most of that either is REM oil or, honestly, 1030.
There ain't nothing wrong with using, light grade motor oil. I used to talk to people that were
W30 because that's what's in the garage.
I used to talk to guys that were emphatic about, like, literally they just keep a quart of Mobile One full synthetic 10W30. That was what they used for gun oil.
One of my coworkers, I've talked about him before. He does a lot of cowboy action sports shooting. He does a lot of 1,000-yard matches with black powders. Him and Eddie would probably get along real well. He
The odds are
swears
they might know
by,
each other.
honestly, it would not surprise me if they've shot against each other. In fact, I should send his picture to Eddie and see if he knows him. That would be hilarious if they do know each other.
I mean,
He swears by automatic transmission fluid cut 50-50 with 10W30.
I've heard that before.
That's all he uses.
I mean, at the end of the day, like, lubricant is lubricant within certain boundaries. I'm sure there's some stuff that's like 10% better than other stuff, but like having an appropriate amount of the wrong kind of oil is still 10 times better than having no oil on a firearm.
Agreed.
All that being said, I had a thought. Oh, I know what I was thinking. Beyond just the cleaning, what other kinds of tools do you keep like in your range bag or on your bench? Or they're not, maybe they're maintenance tools, they're not strictly cleaning.
I got a couple. In my range bag lives a inch-pound screwdriver. Multi-bit driver.
Is it the Wheeler one?
I got one that I picked up as a competition prize. It's a Vortex kit.
Okay. I mean, ostensibly, they're probably pretty similar. Though.
It's probably the exact same one, just with a Vortex label on it, and I didn't have to pay for it, so go me.
Yeah.
That lives in my range bag. I usually keep, if I have a firearm that has anything Allen key on it, I keep the appropriate Allen keys usually in the range bag that goes with that firearm. I also keep a foot-pound torque wrench nearby, not at the range, because usually that's muzzle devices or barrel tensioning or something like that.
Yeah.
But inch-pound. Yeah. Torque wrench is the way to go.
Yeah.
Raggle, you should have bought it. Inch-pound torque wrenches are the best for mounting optics.
Yeah, especially scopes. You wouldn't believe how fast you can jack a scope up by torquing those screws a little bit too hard.
Or even just unintentionally stripping screws. Having the correct bit for the screw you're using, like, yes, there is a difference in size of flathead screw bits.
So I was going to say, like, in addition to an inch-pound torque wrench, I also have a Winchester branded like set of it's the single driver and all the bits, but it's a gun specific screwdriver set, and there are no
hollow ground screwdrivers,
and there are no bull crap like 10 different flathead sizes, and they're all a little bit different.
And if you're a revolver owner, I am not. Phil is.
I am.
Those are phenomenally important.
Let me tell you something. If you ever hope to have the side plate off of a J-frame or a Smith & Wesson without breaking something or tearing up the finish on that gun, thou shalt invest in 10 screwdrivers of varying size differences, because you will use every last one of them for one of those screws.
And they even the must be hollow ground.
Yes, and hollow ground, for those not aware, just means that, like, normally a cheap screwdriver in profile is kind of shaped like a broadhead, and a hollow ground one, it will actually fit all the way down in the bottom of the screw. So you have a better chance of breaking it loose without breaking the head off.
You can tell if it's a hollow ground screwdriver blade because you'll see a little arc instead of just a straight line coming down the side of the screwdriver.
But yeah, that Winchester brand screwdriver set, over the years, I've actually boogered up a couple of those those heads, just because, like, some of these, especially revolvers, they're the worst ones. But some of these things, like, they're tiny little flathead screws, and they are torqued in there by gorillas. And, like, even with
a lot of them have Loctite applied to at the factory.
Yeah, and even with the perfect size screwdriver head, you're still gonna twist that bastard 10 degrees just breaking it loose. Like, I hate to say tools become expendable at a certain point, but they almost do.
Well, especially at small flathead screwdrivers, there's a very fine line between ductile enough to withstand the snap of loosening a screw and the flex of tightening a screw, and hard enough to not deform but not snap. It's a very fine line to hit, and they would rather err on the side of it deforming slightly because it's still a usable tool than it breaking off and boogering up your gun, because then you're going to bitch.
Yeah. And the only other thing I can think of that is like a staple on my bench, I mean, other than like an AR-15, well, AR-15 armorer's tool, that's kind of a no-brainer if you're an AR guy, especially if you build them. Bench block is really helpful for like pounding pins and everything out, having something to support your part while you beat something out of it or into it. But the Owinger thing is a really good punch set with
Yeah.
steel and brass punches.
Always a good decision.
And
the next thing I will add is a sight tool if you shoot a lot of pistols. Sight vise.
Sight tool is actually the one thing I don't own.
Oh, dude, I bought a really nice one, and it has been so nice.
To be fair, I don't spend a lot of time footsing around with sights on hand, especially on handguns. I will go so far as to take like those brass punches I was just talking about, and like if I can convince myself that the gun is consistently shooting like left or right, and it's not just me being a moron, because everyone's had that experience where, okay, some of y'all out there have had this experience and still insist it's the gun and not you, but there's a moment where the gun is shooting consistently right or left, and it has nothing to do with the sights. It has everything to do with the loosen up behind the trigger. But
usually does.
If I can convince myself I am 10 out of 10, not the problem this time, I'll take a brass punch, chalk up the slide in a padded vise, and I'll just give it like a little tap one direction or the other, notate that in like, a little range card I keep with the gun. And the next time I take it out, I'll go and say, okay, I moved the sights. Did the point of impact change? But once I get a handgun pretty close, I'm not going to keep fooling with it. Like I'm gonna say
that's not what I have it for.
You're talking about for installing sights?
Some pistols, in order to do a full complete disassembly, you must remove the rear sight. Because there's a plunger that's held in by the rear sight.
What manufacturer thought that was great?
Springfield. Yep. But I also like removing. I have a sight that I like. I have a sight that I like that my eyes pick up extremely well. I shoot much better with that sight. I put that sight on all of my guns.
Raggle's asking which model. I'm assuming
M&P 2.0C, I know for sure does. XDM also required the rear sight to be removed to change some parts.
Yeah, that's just freaking annoying.
It's not as much of a problem because they don't have a pressed in sight. They have a set screw and dovetail sight, so it's very easy to get them in and out, but it's also so much easier to not mar up your gun or mar up your sights or break your sights when you have the really nice tool that you just crank the handle and it walks right out.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's one of those things that's like on my list, but I'm not going to use it super often. Not for changing handgun sights.
I have had to replace every single part in my XDM except for the plastic receiver, the plastic frame of the gun. Because I have shot it apart on numerous occasions. I shot it so much I broke the slide. I shot 2 barrels out. I shot out every spring in it, including the trigger springs, and I broke a trigger.
Overachiever.
And I cracked a firing pin.
Overachiever.
It was. Well, that was my competition gun. I was shooting like 7,000 to 10,000 rounds of 9mm a year. And that was the only gun I was shooting them out of.
I will say this much, not like a sight pusher, but like I literally just did buy a Magnematic, the AK SKS sight tool, because you are 110% not adjusting the windage on an SKS or an AK without that tool or one similar to it.
Jeff, yes, impressive, but I was also a single man with an income and no mortgage. So
income, no mortgage, and
no wife to question the volume of lead I was ingesting.
And no spouse who you wanted to spend time with more than you wanted to shoot.
Yeah, and I had a range that I could go to for free and a multi-stage reloading press that I got for almost nothing.
Oh, you just had the whole deck stacked against you then.
Bro, I would throw on an episode of SG1 on a Saturday morning, crank out 1,000 rounds, and then go shoot them on Sunday.
Yeah,
it was wild.
You would have been a very dangerous friend to have at that point in my life.
Oh, yeah. I was. I got so many friends into shooting. So much money.
Man, you'd have got me into a lot of trouble with my wife.
Oh, yes.
But yeah, that's about all I can think of as far as like cleaning stuff, tools. Oh, I said earlier, a vise.
Yeah, vise is good. Or just a big old cast iron bastard and some soft brass or nylon jaws to put on it.
I mean, look, dude, I've got like an old school, like a Craftsman, like the old school Craftsman, vise. It's nothing special that's bolted to my bench. And I just made a pair of, I took and cut a pair of blocks out of MDF and then glued shim stock into the back of them to where they'd fit the jaws and stay perfectly level, and rubber bands secure them to the jaws. Those are my pads. And
I CNC milled some nylon.
Because
I'm a fancy ass.
You're a fancy ass, and I'm a woodworker. So I had wood lying around. But I mean, something as simple as that, just anything to keep those jaws from marring your firearm. But like a good bench vise is, and not okay. In addition to a bench vise, a rifle rest.
Rifle rest is nice if you're an AR shooter and not a bolt action shooter. There are magwell blocks.
Yep, I was going to say.
There are the blocks that pin into your upper and lower receiver for holding on to them, for working on them. Fantastic, worth every penny, and they're cheap.
I will say that if you're an AR builder, that magazine block they're not expensive, and God, do they make things so much nicer. Just be able to chalk that up in a vise. You build your lower, you stab it down, you pin your upper onto it, and then you just go to town. The only thing I don't do with that is that when it comes time to torque in the barrel nut and torque in the muzzle device, because I don't like the idea of putting all that torque into the quick takedown pins, is I'll separate the upper and lower, and I'll chuck the upper directly into that padded vise.
Have I got something for you, Phil? All right. So you do a lot of your ARs are pretty much all flat tops, right?
Yes, they are both flat tops.
I took a piece of 1 1/4 Delrin and I just milled a slot into the top of that fits that Picatinny rail. And then you put that pinned in lower on there and you clamp it between those two pieces of Delrin. Now you don't have rotational pressure on your locating lugs and your takedown pins. Now you just have lateral pressure compressing the aluminum. So you don't have to worry about deflecting those at all. It's fantastic.
Overachiever.
Let me know if you want one. I'll send you one.
We would have to have a conversation because I like Aero Precision's enhanced uppers, and they are not. Have you ever played with one?
Yeah, I have one.
Okay, but you know that they're not exactly the same as a mil spec.
They're not, but
they're close enough.
They're close enough that, like, if I throw a 20 thousandths extra clearance in there, it's not going to matter.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, for anybody that hasn't played with them, like when you get to where the barrel nut would be, things get really different really quickly.
They do. Raggle's got a good one. Cut a 1x4 to fit in the magwell and has used that for years. Great idea.
Yeah. Also, frankly, I mean, mine lives in my cleaning bench because sometimes it's just really useful to just stab that thing down in there, and then now it's all hands free. But the rifle rest comes in really handy for it's coming really handy while I was building this SKS. It's coming really handy for messing with my bolt gun. It's coming really handy for messing with my my Beretta shotgun. Quite frankly, I mean,
anything that means you don't have to have a third hand.
Yeah, and also just the ability to it'd be one thing to say, like, put a towel out or a clean mat and just lay the firearm down on its side, but it's something totally different to be able to position it this way, upside down, on its side, wherever, and have the ability to lock it in.
Yeah. That
just, it makes things a lot simpler, especially when you're not cleaning, but you're actually applying torque and force. I actually went as far as, and I haven't used it in years, haven't had to, but I actually, I drilled out 2 holes in my rifle rest, and I have threaded inserts that are attached into the top of my workbench so that I can literally take two 1/4-inch Allen head bolts and bolt that rifle rest down to the bench top.
That's a great idea. I like
I
that.
also,
I might steal that idea.
I also have the. If I think about it, I'll take pictures for you. I actually did the same thing with let's see here, my case trimmer and several other tools where like normally you'd have to have a hand on it to make sure it doesn't walk around. And I just screwed them down to larger wooden bases and then put in threaded inserts throughout the bench. So I can literally screw any of these things down to my reloading bench and they stay put while I'm using them.
So I actually went to using a drill press for my case trimmer. Mm-hmm. And I just made up a micrometer stop on the top of my case trimmer so that I can just go bump, done.
So
it gets them within like 2 thou of each other. It's fantastic.
I actually use a World's Finest trimmer chucked up in an old Craftsman corded drill, and it works fine for that. But
I bet
I only use that for my 5.56. When it comes to like my 308 Winchester, when it comes to any of my revolver brass, I still trim all that by hand. Like with the old school, like the Lyman hand trimmer. It takes longer, but I mean, the 308 Winchester, I'm not really shooting in volume.
Well, that's exactly it.
And the revolver brass, I'm going to trim it one time just to like level set it, make it all the same length, and then after that, I'm going to split the necks on it before it ever becomes a problem again.
I've never actually run into a 9mm case stretching long enough that I needed to trim it.
9mm, no, but I do, and this is something I disagree with a bunch of reloaders about for years, and I will stand on business to the day I die. You need to trim your revolver brass.
I believe that.
One time, because here's the thing of it. You know how you've have you ever reloaded for revolvers? I know you.
Yeah, I had a Smith & Wesson 686 stainless.
Okay, so you're aware that you're not oh God in heaven, why am I drawing a blank on this?
The carbon fouling ring that you get at the end of the cylinder?
No, crimping. It's not a taper crimp you use on a revolver. It's
a roll crimp.
It's a roll crimp. Yeah. So that roll
to prevent
crimp,
bullet setback, or creep out forward.
Now, in my experience, that roll crimp is a lot less forgiving.
Yeah.
In terms of like, if you under crimp it, it does nothing, and if you over crimp it, it really does mess with the bullet leaving the case.
Absolutely does.
And the roll crimp, the degree to which you roll crimp around is dictated by how tall the brass is and where you set the die. So if all of your revolver brass is the exact same height, you'll get a very consistent roll crimp. And if your brass is a little long, a little short, and all kinds of shit, then you're going to get a really inconsistent crimp. Now, that's not a big problem with a taper crimp on 9mm because close enough is close enough when it comes to a taper crimp. You're really just trying to take the bell mouth out. It's more of a it's more particular. The tolerance is a little closer when you're roll crimping, in my experience. So what I tell everybody is that, and also most people don't realize this, but are you aware that even though there is a set factory spec, there's a SAMI spec for like overall length of the case. There's actually 2 different length cases you'll encounter for 357 and for 44 Magnum. And they are wildly different.
No. I had a 357 and I mostly shot 357 and 38s out of it. I had an opportunity at a 44 and I might take a stab at that in a little while again.
So this applies to both. Have you ever seen or heard of the Hornady FTX line of bullets?
Heard of, not having any experience with.
Okay, so that the Hornady FTX was specifically loaded for use in like a lever action, right? Mm-hmm. Or a tube magazine, and it has
I do recall it being more like a cowboy action bullet, wasn't it?
Yes, but it has a polymer tip so that when you go like tip to primer, they don't.
Yeah, they're supposed
they don't do splody things. But here's the thing most people aren't aware of, and you only deal with this if you reload once fired brass, which I do, and that's how I learned this the hard way. The brass for 357 and 44 Magnum used for the Hornady FTX bullets, Hornady specifically cuts it about 30 thousandths shorter than SAMI spec because it has to be shorter to interface with the cantilever on that bullet.
Really?
Yes. Now, here's the thing. If you get some of that brass, and it's not hard to figure out, it will say Hornady on the head stamp, And when you go to measure it, it's going to be noticeably shorter than the same spec for your case length. But if you get any of it and you want to reload Hornady's FTX bullets, it's fine. It's perfect. It's already the right length. But if you look in a Hornady manual and you look at those FTX bullets, it will specifically have a note in there that says you must trim the brass to this spec to load these bullets in this case. And that's how I learned about it, because when I started getting once fired brass, I didn't realize that. And I started loading 357 Magnum bullets. And then I noticed when I had a bunch of these things lined up, I'm like, why are some of these cases shorter than others? Because there were some where I could see the cantilever.
Yeah.
You could see it. It was standing proud of the case. Like, the case was that much noticeably shorter. And I was like, what's going on here? Like, there's no way on earth. I did that because I wasn't trimming the brass at the time. Everybody had always told me you don't trim pistol brass. So then I started researching and figured that out. And from that moment forward, I measure all my revolver brass when I first take it in from the range. Yeah. Anything that is too short goes in the trash can. Everything gets trimmed to a consistent length. If it's more, I don't remember what the spec is. I've got it written down in one of my reloading journals. I think it's like 5 thousandths too short. If it's shorter than that, below what my what length I'm looking for, I can it.
That's fair.
But that now means all the brass that I've shot once, I've verified it's the right length. I've trimmed it one time. I've cleaned it. It's ready to lock and load. I never have to worry about it again. And this cool thing about revolvers is that it's really easy to reclaim the brass. So
it is. Semi-autos, it can be a mess sometimes.
Yeah, that's a really long-winded story, but you know, for anybody,
it's a good piece of info.
For anybody out there that's not in the know, let's say I was very surprised, so I try to pass that along to other people who might be in the same boat. Anyway.
I know an elderly lady that has a Smith & Wesson 66 44 Magnum 6-inch blued original in the box. Yeah.
Does she want to adopt an adult?
No, but she might be willing to sell it to me if I can convince myself it's a reasonable price to try liking revolvers again. I've failed every time so far.
A blued model 66 and 44 Magnum, about what vintage?
6-inch.
About what vintage?
Well, given her husband's age and when he was buying all of his guns, I'm guessing 70s, 60s to 70s. But, man, he's got a pair of matched Colt Peacemakers that have never been fired either in his collection.
I'm just debating if that gun is worth driving to Illinois for.
I mean, if I don't buy it and she hasn't sold it yet, she would probably be willing to mail it to an FFL to sell it to you.
Well, we might talk turkey later.
She also has a 460 Weatherby Magnum she's been trying to sell, and I just cannot buy that.
Why not?
I've shot it.
And?
It is upsetting.
You're a big boy.
To shoot.
You're a big boy. You like recoil.
I like recoiling rifle. Yeah, I do. It's a safari weight, ultralight.
Yes.
460 Weatherby.
Yes.
Have you shot one?
No.
It's like shooting an unbraked 50 cal, man.
Sounds fun.
It's fun the first time. It is not fun the third. And neither is buying the rounds or the reloading dies, because you have to custom order them.
Yeah.
It's not a standard stock die.
No, but now I know what to encourage you to buy to really piss Rachel off.
The 460? No. There's other things I would get before I got that. I'd probably pick up a 4570 lever action. Because
that's almost pedestrian by comparison.
It is, but it's one of those, like, my brother already shoots 4570. He's got all the reloading dies. Oh, man. Raggle, if you run across a 44 auto mag, the pistol, let us know. Phil, have you ever shot a 44 auto mag?
No.
It is fantastically terrible.
I cannot even intone to you how disinterested I am.
Oh, dude, it's a semi-auto 44 Magnum.
I know what it is. I have no
They
interest
also
in it
made it in
whatsoever.
30 carbine.
I don't like awful guns. They annoy me.
Oh, but dude, it is like
A beautiful
peak
disaster.
peak 80s TV cop drama peak gun.
I will admit, when I saw it on the Dirty Harry movie, I think it was the fourth or the 14th one,
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember which, I was momentarily very intrigued. And then I learned about it and I was like, oh, that sounds awful.
It is. It's god awful. One of a guy I used to go shooting with occasionally. He had it in 30 carbine and 44 Magnum. The 30 carbine one is a riot of a good time.
What are we defining as a riot of a good time?
Uh so we were doing a lot of steel plate popping at the time,
Uh huh.
and it would sometimes make the steel plates bounce right back up, and you could do double taps on a pop down target.
That doesn't seem like as much of an accomplishment because I've done that with my 357.
Yeah, but this was at like 70 yards.
Okay, I haven't done that at 70 yards.
It's a slapping little round out of a pistol.
I was about to say at 25 yards, I could do that at my
Oh
local
yeah,
range,
yeah. You can do that with 357 if you
and
got a
it's a
heavy
lot.
enough load.
And it's well 154 grain at like 1250, 1300 feet per second.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a little bit of zap to it.
Yeah, I missed out on a what was it? One of the conversion Dragonovs. Guy had one in 30-06 that was originally made in 30-06,
Mm-hmm.
not a conversion. But that was a lot of money in guns sitting there.
Oh yeah. No, actually, I was just thinking to myself. I actually have I have load data for a 125 grain bullet in 357 Magnum, and the load data says it's supposed to do like 1900.
I would try
I,
it.
I I haven't tried it yet, but I kind of want to load a few just to ride the lightning.
With that 357 that I bought, I got all of the guys pissing hot hand loads. My God, some of those hand loads, you'd be going through and be like, well, and some of them were wad cutters that he loaded to max for no reason at all.
You and I've had this conversation. My experience loading through 7 Magnum is that I actually managed to load. That is the only load I've ever like run out of nerve before I got to max charge.
300 Win Mag.
No.
You can scare the bejesus out of yourself loading 300 Win Mag.
It wasn't scaring myself. That was the problem.
Oh?
It was the ringing noise I was hearing through my ear pro coming from the frame.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Because you see, I had load data from Hornady, and that's what I started loading from. And I kept going hotter and hotter and hotter and got to max. And I was like, oh, this is a hell of a lot of fun. Fireball this freaking big with a hole with a the flaming the traditional flaming donut coming out of the front of this 4-inch Magnum was beautiful. The fire coming out of the cylinder gap. I have a picture someplace that is like peak gun photography.
Nice.
And it was beautiful. And then I found other load data that was like, oh, according to this, I could go another 0.6 of a grain hotter. So I started pushing the limit, and I got 0.4 of a grain hotter than what I was previously. And then the frame started making this weird ringing noise when I would shoot it. So I backed it back down to where I was before.
That's probably smart. I mean, you got to remember with revolvers, there are a variety of strength of frames in the same caliber of revolver.
Yeah. It was Hodgdon's data, though, that made me start questioning myself. Hornady's data, in my experience, is actually pretty much like on the money, maybe even a little bit conservative. But here's the frightening part before we walk this one out. That load data that I haven't tried yet for 357, the 125 grain bullet at 1900 feet per second, that's Hodgdon data. I don't have data for that powder, for that bullet weight in the Hornady manual.
No, you won't.
So there's this part of me like, I kind of really want to try it because it's
start low and work your way up.
Well, I mean, let's do the
You
math
know the
here.
rules.
My go-to round for 38 special is like 125 at like 800 and some feet per second. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not a burn in the house down round. It's not a
No,
defensive
it's a
round.
training round.
It's a training round. Like I can shoot it in my little 15-ounce J frame,
Mm-hmm.
60, 70 rounds before my hand starts to make me question my life decision.
Mm-hmm.
But more than twice that speed.
Mm-hmm. Should be fun.
Sounds terrifying, but I might try it. Anyway, we might have to save the rest of this topic for another night. We're an hour and a half in.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what we're going to talk about next week. We did float the idea of like doing kind of a show and tell on our plate carrier, showing like how we've set them up to this point and this and the other. But I'm going to put a pin in it if I get to do some dry fire over the weekend to confirm the way I currently have it set up and if that works. And if it does, I'll let you know by the beginning of next week, like if that might be the direction we go.
I am still tweaking things on mine, and I need to acquire a new hydration pouch for mine yet.
Okay, so you want to punt it a little further out? We'll do something else.
Yeah, I'm still playing around with a few things. I mean, I can talk through what I intend to do with it and what I intend to do with that H harness, because I'm thinking that H harness actually might replace my Alice H harness that I use for my belt due to my lack of ass.
Yes, you do have that genetic predisposition we've talked about.
I do. It's a terrible curse. Belts
I don't know.
Require suspenders.
We'll bat it around and figure out something. I mean, at some point, I think a discussion about how we set up those Vicarians would be useful for everybody else, just to kind of like understand the process and the thought process and like how to actually put all that together. Because like while Rebel has done a phenomenal job putting everything in a bag, they're still integrating all the stuff together and making it work with you and your body and your lack of ass and making it work with your belt and all the rest of your field gear and making it work with you.
Yeah. Making it work with you is the hardest part.
Yeah. Raggle Fraggle. Talking about maintaining kid and envy. We might actually do that next week.
We can do that next week.
We only got through about half the topic. Because we spent too much time goobering around talking about libertarianism and crooked politicians.
Now. Crooked politicians, that's like, they're all crooked.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, so we'll go ahead and punt this one out the door. I guess we'll pick up the rest of this topic in a week and talk through like maintaining our field gear, maintaining clothing, boots, night vision, and pretty much anything else Nick and I can figure out in the next 6.5 days.
Boots, nylon, night vision, and body armor. There is maintenance to your body armor.
Yep. All right. Matter of fact, going out the door. Good night, everybody. Take care of yourselves. Be good. And Dr. Scary Guy, I'm going to reach out to you and try to figure out who you are, because I saw a notification on my phone just a second ago while we were in the show, and I just need to connect the dots on like who you are. But in any case, good night, everybody. Talk to y'all in a week. Bye.
Night.